You're watching the ANEC Sports Podcast on YouTube. The show starts right now. Welcome to episode 8 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Frick, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, covering 30 schools across Northeast Indiana and parts of Elkhart County. That includes the ACAC, the NECC, and the Northeast State, the three primary conferences we cover at ANEC Sports. And so we are at the halfway mark of the month of September. The regular season for girls golf has just completed following the conference tournaments wrapping up. Cross country is gearing towards the latter half of their regular season. Football is over a third of the way through their season. Volleyball is halfway through their season, and the conference races are heating up as we speak. So we have a pretty busy lineup here today for this episode. And so we want to make this a shorter segment here today. And that is going to be the Talk Around the Corner, our weekly segment getting you caught up of what we have seen over the past week. So we begin with girls golf because the regular season just ended. The Calb swept through the Northeast State for the third consecutive season, both for the regular season and the conference tournament. The Calbs winning the tournament by 31 points, I believe. They had 331 points. Norwell placed second, around 362. And I believe Leo placed third in the tournament as we speak. And Grace Pfister, along with several others, including Ellie Gatson of Norwell, and I believe it's the cutting girl from Huntington North, all received co-medalist honors for their respective schools. But overall, DeKalb won the conference tournament for the third consecutive year for the first time since 2018. And it's the first time ever that DeKalb has swept the conference competition for 3 years in a row. Shifting over to the ACAC, Bluffton, after failing to secure an outright conference championship in the regular season to Southern Wells, the Bluffton Tigers repeat as conference tournament champions, this time in a much closer outcome. Bluffton scored 391 points. South Adams ended up with 399 points. And then Southern Wells placed third at 400 points. And these co-medalist honors include Julia Arnold of South Adams, London Smith of Adams Central, both receiving 87 points. At London Smith, Adams Central, Julia Arnold of South Adams. Emma Schwartz placed fourth with 91 points. Overall, Bluffton won the whole thing, as I mentioned earlier. And meanwhile, in the NE8, the co-medals honors from these three individuals, they all scored 80 points. But in the NECC tournament, that was not needed. Emery Laughlin of Fremont won an outright medalist honor for the Fremont Eagles with a score of 85. Fremont easily won the conference tournament for the second consecutive year, which is something that's never happened before at the program, after completing their fifth straight regular season championship for the Fremont Eagles. I think Garrett placed second, and they had over 400 points. Fremont was the only team that scored below 400. So congratulations to Fremont, DeKalb, and Bluffton on winning their conference tournaments. In terms of volleyball has seen a couple shakeups as of late, particularly with the ACAC. Woodland came into this past week undefeated at 7-0. They swept Bishop Lures on that Monday. The next night they played Leo, which was the ANEC match of the week. They won the first set. Unfortunately for Woodland, Leo won the last three pretty easily on their way to the Lions winning a 4-setter. And then just a couple nights later, Woodland had a 2-1 lead against Jade County. They blew that lead, and the Patriots defeated the Warriors in 5 sets. That was a surprise to a lot of people, and that was seen as one of the big surprising matchups of that week. South Adams remains in first place in the conference. Adams Central and Jade County are both tied for second place as they've won their Actually, Jade County is 2-0. Adams Central's 1-0 in conference play, if I recall, and Woodland fell to fourth because of the loss to the Jay County Patriots. We'll talk more about volleyball in a matter of moments. And then we get to football. Football this past week saw a lot of unexpected results on the football field. We'll start off with the ACAC, probably the conference that had the least surprising outcomes of the three. Bluffton dominated Woodland 36-7 in the ACAC game of the week. Anston Best, once again, another great performance with over 300 plus yards combined and 4 touchdowns. Again, continuing his excellent sophomore season for the Bluffton Tigers at quarterback. Heritage held off a South Adams rally to win 38-22. This year, Martin had a couple of touchdowns and 200 yards rushing. Braden Walter became the career leader in interceptions at Heritage, and then Eli Taguas threw 260 yards and I believe 3 touchdowns. In the win for the Heritage Patriots, who remain undefeated on the season, we will talk with their head coach, Jeremy Hullinger, later in the show. Adams Central once again continues to dominate as they beat Jay County 33-8. Matt Heiser ran for over 126 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win for the Jets. And that's all I have in terms of the ACAC. We go to the NE8. Again, not a lot of surprises for the most part in the NE8. Norwell dominated Belmont 55-0. Belmont streak now extends to a 26-game losing streak, which ties a program record for the longest losing streak in the history of the program. Inevitably, it's probably going to be surpassed by the end of this week. And the Braves have now lost 52 of the last 53 football games, dating back to the 2016, or I should say 2017 season, excuse me. So things going from bad to worse for the Belmont Braves there. Columbia City defeated Huntington North pretty easily, 37-21. Landon Fazio and Tyler Parrish both had 2 touchdowns. Gavin Smith had 2 interceptions and a touchdown of his own. He nearly got a 3rd interception in that game. And once again, Huntington North continues to shoot themselves in the foot with turnovers. I believe that's now 7 or 8 turnovers in their last 2 games. They got to get that cleaned up, or otherwise the Huntington North Vikings are going to struggle to win in this conference. East Noble dominates the Cal 35-0. A lot of people were surprised about this one. They thought this might be a closer game, but I think in the end, you look at East Noble's physicality, the way they play up front. Clearly, East Noble had the advantage in that department. The Cal just doesn't quite have that same type of front line. East Noble was just the better team in general, as the Knights dominate the Barons once again. Leo beats New Haven 42-13. Landon Hefner with 264 combined yards and 4 touchdowns. They used him in a variety of different ways, both as a receiver, a running back, and in special teams. So Hefner continues to bring a lot of value to the Leo Lions, and quietly brought shots, having a great season once again because Leo's got such a great team. And Hefner, the Army commit, having a great year as well. Schott also going to be a big-time prospect next year when he goes to the Miami Hurricanes of the ACC. I believe that's it for the Northeast state that I know for sure. And finally, we go over to the NECC, and this is where things start to change. The NECC got a little bit crazy on Friday. We'll start with the Big School Division. Garrett defeats Lakeland by the score of 41-27. Calder Hefty had a couple touchdown runs, and he also recorded an interception. He only completed 1 pass, but that was more than enough for Garrett to complete the win. Cam Rubel had nearly 30 carries for 156 yards and a pair of touchdowns. And then Alex Guzman, I know it sounds like Guzman, but it's actually Guzman. He had only 6 carries for about 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 5 tackles, I believe, and an interception, as Garrett outworks Lakeland by 14 points. Garrett's undefeated on the season. They are now in a situation where if Garrett continues to have their success, that following week against West Noble in week 6 will prove to be a game that may end up deciding the Big School Division Championship. A lot of people claim that the game on Friday was going to be the game that decides the championship, but you can't ever count the West Noble Chargers. And so Garrett's going to have to go to Ligonier next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday. And that game may very well be the game that decides the division. unless Lakeland can pull off an upset in week 7, or somehow Fairfield beats West Noble this week. You're looking at week 6 being a very, very important week for the West Noble Chargers and the Garrett Railroaders. And West Noble continues to dominate Angola. They won 35-10. Seth Pruitt ran for 291 yards and 4 touchdowns. Angola had no chance to beat this West Noble team. Fairfield, a little bit of surprise on this one. Fairfield defeats Culver Academy's 48-33. Brecken Marin ran for 235 yards and 5 touchdowns. Have yourself a day, Brecken Marin. Fairfield gets off the 2-game schneid. And now we shift over to probably the craziest of the 2 divisions, and that is the small school division. Remember when I said the small school division was probably going to be in favor of Eastside? Yeah, put that out the window now, because that's not happening now. At this point, with how Churubusco ended that game, it's looking very, very likely that the Churubusco Eagles will play a factor when whether this division is won by them or if somebody else wins the division. Eastside has now lost control of the division race thanks to Busco's 24-12 win over the Eastside Blazers, including a 81-yard kickoff return to open up the game by Bryce Lawrence off of a reverse lateral. And you had Wes Ott with a 42-yard pitch 6 return that gave Busco the eventual 12-point win. Eastside has had injuries. They've been banged up, but they haven't been playing good football all year up to this point, and they need to find it ASAP because it is starting to pull away from Eastside right now, and they're starting to lose control of their division chances. Now, they get away from divisional play for now. They got to play Garrett's this week at Garrett. Good luck with that. If Eastside continues to have these struggles, it's going to be a long, long Friday night for the Eastside Blazers because this Garrett team is not the same as the teams of the past. And Eastside's streak of winning the Train Trophy may come to an end unless Eastside plays a tremendously different game over the next 6 days. It's got to change quickly for the Eastside Blazers. Speaking of changes, there's a passing of the torch in the small school division. It might be Prairie Heights. Prairie Heights. Yeah, we're living in a world where Prairie Heights is the only team in the small school division that has a winning record. They're 3-1 for the first time since 2003, and they defeated the Central Noble Cougars by the score of 42-20. Matt Armstrong with 178 yards passing and 4 touchdown passes. Central Noble, despite a good effort from the Sloan kid at running back with 2 touchdowns of his own, Central Noble just never had a chance against the Prairie Heights Panthers. And for the first time since 2013, Prairie Heights beat CN for the first time since 2003. They're 3-1. They're looking to end a massive streak of not having a winning season. They have not had a winning season since 1989. This is significant because it is one of the longest streaks without a winning season in the history of the IHSAA in terms of football. This is significant. They're also on pace to have the most wins in a season in a dozen years. And so for Prairie Heights, they have a lot of control right now, and they're looking to end the narratives. But they got to go to Busco this week for the NECC game of the week. They got to play the Churubusco Eagles, who have some confidence after getting their first win of the season against Eastside. Speaking of first win of the season, Fremont can now join the win column. They came back from an early deficit. They defeated previously unbeaten Park Tudor on the road, 47-29. Carmen Moreno, I believe, had like 29 carries for 407 yards and 5 touchdowns. I think he came just a couple yards shy of matching the program record for rushing yards in a single game. And Fremont, just after having essentially no offense for the first 3 weeks, only scored 6 points through 3 games. They scored 47 against Park Tudor, and Fremont now has some life going into their divisional opener, which they're going to be at Central Noble, I believe. And so this is going to be an interesting divisional matchup between the Cougars and the Eagles. Central Noble, the only winless team in the NECC. So give me a matter of moments here. We're going to go ahead and go through briefly some of the upcoming games to watch here. So let's start off with the ACAC for week number 5. Adams Central is at Heritage for the ACAC Game of the Week. The Jets have owned the Patriots over the last several years, and the Patriots are looking for their first win against Adams Central in about 11 years or so for the Heritage Patriots. This has been a very close series in the past, and Heritage has the opportunity right now to take down the Jets. We'll talk to Hullinger about this matchup later in the show. One other matchup to keep an eye on potentially is seeing whether or not Jay County can put up a better performance against the Bluffton Tigers after after being torched to a 33-point spread by the Jets in a 25-point loss. Can the Patriots find some momentum going into week number 5? We go to the Northeast 8, starting with Columbia City at DeKalb. Columbia City is 5-0 on the season. 4-0 on the season. And now they're looking to match what they did last season, going 5-0. They got to go to DeKalb. They got to face a Barons team that's got a good offensive line. They have a good running back in senior Taney Hinkle. They got a good quarterback in senior Will Weber. They got some studs up front. They got a pretty solid defense that got lit by East Noble. So they're going to be motivated for this game against Columbia City. The Eagles are going to have to take care of the football, and they're going to have to be able to execute their offense pretty well against this DeKalb team, which is certainly going to be an upgrade from their opponent last week against Huntington North. DeKalb is going to have to be able to show that they can win the battle up front, and this game will be a certain test for that. Also, East Noble at Leo for the NE8 game of the week, as the greatest rivalry in the NE8 right now takes center stage at Lions Field. The East Noble and Leo share the conference last year along with New Haven. East Noble is 3-1. Leo is 4-0. And this rivalry has seen a lot of dramatic and thrilling wins for both teams. And now these two will battle out once again to see which team will have full control of the NE8 race. Will it be the Knights under Alex Stewart in that hybrid spread attack, wing tee, whatever you want to call it, that they can throw the football but still pound the rock as they usually do it? Or does Leo's spread hybrid of their own continue to dominate as well? Leo has been a dominant force so far in this area, and it's going to be tough to see whether or not the East Noble Knights can get the job done against the Leo Lions. One of the matchups keep an eye on, New Haven and Norwell, both two winless teams on the season for both the Norwell. Actually, take that back. Norwell did beat Belmont 55-0. New Haven is the one that is winless on the season. New Haven is 0-4 to start this season. Their first 0-4 start since 2019. New Haven is looking to avoid an 0-5 start, which is something that has not happened at New Haven. Let me just look briefly here real quick. New Haven has not started a season 0-5 since the year 2000, to which that team went 2-8. So New Haven looking to avoid a start that they haven't seen in nearly a quarter of a century. And then lastly, we go to the NECC. We begin with Angola at Lakeland, two very interesting teams taking place at LaGrange. Angola looking to bounce back from a tough loss to the West Noble. Lakeland looking to avenge from their first loss of the season against Garrett. So both teams looking for a get-right game of their own. Can the Angola Hornets figure out how to stop this lethal air attack of the Lakeland Lakers? And more importantly for Lakeland is, can they get that loss out of the rear view mirror and be able to put up a good four-quarter performance against the Hornets? Eastside at Garrett for the annual trade game. Eastside has owned this matchup. They have not lost to Garrett since 2017. And this is a matchup right now where if Eastside doesn't get things figured out soon at 1-3, they are at risk of losing the train game to the Garrett Railroaders. It's at Garrett. Garrett is 4-0 on the season. They are riding high entering this matchup between the Blazers and the Railroaders in quote unquote non-conference play. Fairfield at West Noble in the US 33 rivalry game between the Falcons and Chargers. West Noble has had the series edge lately. Can the Falcons make this a competitive game? That will be something to keep an eye on. Fremont at Central Noble. This game in the past has had some interesting moments, and now there's a chance that maybe Central Noble goes into week 6 when they play Lakeland. They may end up still being winless by this point. Central Noble, the only team without a win from the NECC. They have not had a start like this since their 30-game losing streak, and in particularly the 0-10 2012 season. So this is not good company to be a part of right now. If you're a Central Noble fan, it is a tough time to be a Central Noble Cougars fan without question. Fremont looking to have a 2-game winning streak. And then the NECC game of the week, Prairie Heights at Churubusco, a matchup that has been owned by Churubusco in the past. They have not lost to Prairie Heights in quite some time, I believe, since the 2003 season as well. I want to make sure I get that confirmed real quick. Yes, the last time Prairie Heights beat Churubusco was the 2003 season on September 12th. It was a 20-14 overtime win at Busco, to which Prairie Heights went 5-5 on the season. The last time they had a season with at least 5 wins was the 2013 season. And so Prairie Heights looking to find some winning ways for the Ouida Heights Panthers. Real quickly, let's jump over to volleyball real quick. Tomorrow is the ANEC volleyball match of the week between the Adams Central Flying Jets and the Belmont Braves. Two high-power programs in Adams County looking to get some bragging rights under their belt in the midst of their season. Belmont will begin conference play this week as they hope to defend the Northeast State. This is going to be in Monroe at the Hangar against the Belmont Braves. That will be taking place on Monday. Tuesday, the Jets will host Jay County. That will be an interesting matchup considering that Jay County did beat Woodland last week in 5 sets. Also, the Jets are going to be playing New Haven on Wednesday at New Haven. This is a rescheduled game from last week because of the situation going on in New Haven due to the social media threats, or at least the alleged social media threats, to which postponed the game to Wednesday, September 18th. Also, Angola is at Woodland. So Woodland needing a get-right game, but they're going to have to do so against a very good Angola squad. On Thursday, Adams Central's at Woodland, another critical conference matchup. And for Woodland, this is a game they must win if they want to stay alive in the ACAC race. Bluffton is at Southern Wells in a Wells County rivalry matchup of their own. Bluffton in desperate needs of some wins. They're only 2-10 on the season, I believe. Southern Wells is 8-7. Their most wins in a season in over 20 years. So a lot of confidence for the ladies in Pinedo. They have not had a winning season in a very long time, at least 35 plus years. So this is rare territory for the Southern Wells Raiders. Heritage is at South Adams. Heritage right around 500 against a team in South Adams. It's 14-1, I believe. They have looked really good all season long. Shifting over to the NECC on Monday, East Noble is at Central Noble. East Noble comes in at 10-8. Central Noble struggling as of late at 4-9. Could be an interesting matchup over the Jungle in Albion, Indiana. Also on Monday, Angola is at Lakeland in a big conference matchup between two undefeated teams in NECC play. I believe both teams are 3-0 in conference play. Lakeland has won 7 of their last 9 matches. Angola has only lost 1 match all year, and that came against Bishop Wayner in the first week of the season. They dominated Westview, and they also beat Concordia in a 5-set thriller. So Angola looking like they're in mid-season form at the right time for the Angola Hornets, but they got to make sure they don't look past the Lakeland Lakers. On Tuesday, Fremont gets to host a very interesting out-of-area matchup in South Bend St. Joseph. That's an interesting matchup considering that Fremont has at least 13 wins on the season. Very interesting matchup to get them prepared for the rest of the season. Fairfield at Goshen in the Maple City rivalry. Interesting matchup between two teams hovering around 500. DeKalb at Westview, another interesting matchup between the Barons and the Warriors. Garrett at Eastside. Eastside has 3 wins on the season. Garrett is at 4-10. Both teams really looking for a big win as they get towards the latter part of the season. And then, let's see, I already talked about Angola Woodland. And then on Thursday, Central Noble is at West Noble. The Chargers, the heavy favorites at 9-4, looking to stay alive in that conference race. And then Westview is at Churubusco, a game that could end up being a 4 or 5 set thriller of their own. And then lastly, the Northeast 8. Any other matchups I haven't talked about earlier? Let's see here. Huntington North at Homestead could be interesting, but although Homestead will be heavily favored, as they are the home team in this matchup. Columbia City, Warsaw. Warsaw is a heavy favorite in that matchup there. Looking into Wednesday, Belmont is at Carroll. That's another really good non-conference matchup for the Braves as they face 18-1 Carroll, state-ranked Carroll. Another great matchup for the Belmont Braves to get them ready for not just for the regular season, but also for the 4A state tournament because now they're a 4A school due to success factor. And then on Thursday, East Snowball DeKalb, big rivalry game in Waterloo. Another very intriguing matchup there as the NEA play gets underway for volleyball. New Haven is at Belmont, another enticing matchup as the Bulldogs are 9-4. Norwell at Leo could be interesting. This was a close matchup last year. Will be interesting to see how that goes. Columbia City Huntington, another intriguing matchup as well. Real quick, let's go ahead and get into our upcoming soccer matches for this week, and we'll begin with boys soccer and the ACAC. 6-1 Jake County at 4-4-1 Richmond. Another interesting matchup between Jake County and a school out of the Richmond area in the Red Devils. Heritage at Woodland in the ACAC rivalry game in East Allen County Schools. In the East Allen County School District, Heritage looking to maintain their lead in the conference standings after defeating the Jake County Patriots last week by a couple goals. Then on Thursday, Jake County is at Belmont. Belmont, kind of a sneaky 2-win team that could get a couple that can make this interesting against Jake County. Then on Saturday, Jake County faces Woodland again for the second time, and this time it's in Woodburn to take on the Warriors. Jake County looking to stay alive in the ACAC race. We then shift over to the Northeast Corner Conference, and we begin with a huge matchup on Tuesday between the Westview Warriors and the West Snowball Chargers, to which this week actually kicks off the NECC tournament, actually. So for boys soccer, Westview and West Snowball will play each other on Tuesday. That's a big matchup that will indicate who will win the conference altogether. And right now, both seem to be the favorites to win the tournament. Can't rule Angola, who defeated Westview in the regular season. They are certainly a team to watch as well in that conference tournament. Same goes for the girls soccer tournament, as Westview is the heavy favorite in the girls soccer tournament. Then we shift over to any other games that's left here. So let's just take a look briefly going through the main schedule. On Tuesday, Bethany Christian is at Goshen. Bethany Christian is coming off a 1-0 win over West Snowball on a goal by Sawyer Beachy with 30 minutes to go in the match. And Jacoby Reinhardt secured the clean sheet. Goshen is 6-3, another historically strong program in Goshen. Very interesting matchup there between these two rival schools. And then on Thursday, Bethany is going to host Northridge, who's a 5-win team, another solid program in the Northern Lakes Conference. So Bethany Christian is going to have a couple of very tough tests for the Bruins as they look to get ready for the final stretch of the regular season. And then for the Northeast states, we begin with Monday with DeKalb traveling to Huntington take on the Barons. DeKalb take on the Huntington Vikings. DeKalb is coming off a 4-0 loss to Columbia City, and then follow that up with a 7-1 win over Snyder, thanks to a hat trick from Elliot Neal, who's also in the running for Performer of the Week. Huntington North had a lot of close losses, including the one at the hands of New Haven and Columbia City. And so Huntington North will certainly be a trap match for the Cal Barons. Belmont is at Leo. East Snowball is at Norwell. Both teams have been slumping as of late. In fact, Norwell has lost their last 6 matches. Columbia City is at New Haven. Columbia City is currently in first place in the conference. But don't overlook New Haven. They're 2-4, and 2 of their wins coming against NEA opponents. So New Haven is definitely not a team to look past. On Tuesday, New Haven is at Northside, another nice matchup in the Allen County area. And then on Wednesday, Leo DeKalb, a very big matchup for conference implications in Waterloo. The Lions and the Barons square off as they look to stay within a game margin of Columbia City. But that matchup right there is going to tell us a lot about where the race could go for the final few weeks of conference play. And that's pretty much the NE8 for boys soccer. We now go to the NE8 for the girls. And we begin with Monday. Conference play resumes for girls soccer. New Haven's at Columbia City. Norwell is at East Snowball. Huntington North is at DeKalb. Leo is at Belmont. This is the big one right there in Decatur. The Lions and the Braves, two of the major contenders for the Northeast State Championship. This was the match that decided the conference last year. Belmont won by a single goal. They won the conference outright, and then Leo and Belmont played each other in regionals, with Leo defeating the Belmont Braves to win that regional on their way to their second straight state finals appearance. And then on Tuesday, Norwell is at Eastbrook. Grace Mann, the Norwell Knights, taking on a very strong Eastbrook program that's 5-1-2 on the season. Another interesting matchup down in Marion. On Wednesday, conference play resumes for DeKalb and Leo. This time it's at Leo. Can the defending state champions keep their hopes alive of maintaining their perfect streak of the conference play, or do the Red Hot Barons have other ideas? Belmont is at Snyder, another SAC opponent that Belmont's going to be traveling to at Spooler Stadium. Heritage is at New Haven. Huntington North is at Concordia. East Snowball, who's coming off a 4-0 win over Woodland. East Snowball, who's coming off a 4-0 win over Central Noble and a 9-0 win over Garrett. They are at Woodland. And then on Thursday, Belmont is at Jay County. Jay County currently in first place in the ACAC. And Columbia City is on the road to take on Concordia. As I mentioned, there's the NECC tournament for girls soccer. And lastly, we will shift to the ACAC for girls soccer. On Monday, South Adams is at Heritage. Heritage won the first meeting by a single goal. Now the matchup shifts to Monroeville as the Heritage Patriots look to stay within striking distance of the ACAC race. And then Norwell is at South Adams. That's really the only games that I have really that really stand out for soccer. And that, folks, is the talk around the corner. And now we get to our interviews. I'm here with the head football coach of the Churubusco Eagles, Paul Sade. Coach, thank you for taking the time to talk about the Eagles, and how are things going for you so far?
Well, so far so good. Rough start to the season. Obviously, we're happy with the win Friday night, but it's been an interesting start to our season, and hopefully we can continue to get better and as we move forward. So.
Mm-hmm. Entering this season, this was a team that went 2-8 in the season. Obviously, a rebuilding season of that program after many years of success for the Busco Eagles. Obviously, their start to the season was including with three very good teams in Columbia City, Lakeland, and Garrett. And I would say, Coach, this was a good way to see where your teams are. And I think it showed that the competition with those three teams, we've only lost 2 games combined. Adam with not Columbia City, but Lakeland losing to Garrett, and then Garrett undefeated on the season, including a win over Adams Central. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. It's our early season schedule is difficult, and we knew that going in. I think that Columbia City, what Coach Fox is doing over there is really amazing, and he's got a lot of kids out. I think what Coach O'Shea is doing at Lakeland, I know they lost to Garrett, but they are a phenomenal football team, and obviously Garrett, I don't know that we've seen a better football team than Garrett. So going into the season after a rough season last year, and still having some depth issues and some trying to figure out who's going to play what position. It's baptism by fire early in the season with our schedule. And I think that, our kids weathered the storm a little bit early. We had some injuries. We're still dealing with some injuries, and East Side's banged up just like we are. And so, it was 2 teams that were kind of battle tested a little bit. And obviously, if they had a full roster, the game might have gone differently. But we were able to come out on top, and we're happy with that going into the conference season with a win.
Let's talk about that game against East Side. And this is a team that's won division the last 5 years, which has never happened at East Side prior to that. Obviously, you've had your fair share of struggles with the East Side Blazers as well. But when the way that game started was interesting because of the opening kickoff, and we know we've seen this in the past with Busco where they have success in special teams and whatnot. As I've been aware, this was a reverse lateral from Tonkel to Bryce Lawrence, 81-yard return to open that game. Coach, just talk about the significance of that play to send a message to how the game was going to go.
Well, it was significant. Our special teams coordinator, Justin Blake, has been with us for a long time in a variety of capacities, and he has a really good mind. And, all of our special teams players primarily are varsity football players that have to play offense and defense. So it's kind of a puzzle to put together every week for the special teams depth chart. But that was it's a play we've worked on in the past, and it's a play that we feel like it's not an every down play. It's not an every kick play, but we feel like it's a play that we can use. And obviously with some of the guys that we have returning the football, we feel like it's a play that is worth a shot. And, to set the tone early in the football game with an opening kickoff return in that fashion, I think on the road against a team we haven't beat for 6 years, I think was a good start to the game. And honestly, in a game where our offense was not going to score a whole lot of points, it was pretty critical. In hindsight, it was probably the play of the game in a lot of ways.
You look at this Busco team, obviously still relatively young, but you do have some seniors on this team, including a guy by the name of Angelo Inicelli, who set the single game record, I believe, last year for Busco in rushing yards. He had 100 yards rushing against Eastside just last week. Wes Ott had a 42-yard pitch six. I believe he was your quarterback last week because of injuries and whatnot. Coach, when you look at this Busco team in 2024, obviously there's some characteristics that are similar to past teams, but what are some things that stand out to you about what this group of Busco Eagles bring every day?
Well, I think that resilience is a good word. When you play a tough schedule and you have injuries and you going in healthy, you don't have a lot of depth. The expectation is that kids can play multiple positions. And I think that from that standpoint, our kids have handled that well. Weston Ott stepping up and playing quarterback and essentially learning the position in 4 days and doing a really good job of it on Friday. We didn't ask him to throw the ball a lot. We asked him to run the offense and run the football, and he did a good job with that. Angelo Anicelli runs the ball really hard and was injured early in the year and, didn't have the success that he probably wanted to, but was patient on Friday in a good way, patient and from the standpoint of understanding that we're going to have to, do some things to open up the box a little bit and create lanes for him to run through. And when we needed him to do that, he did. And our offensive line, I think, played the best game they've played so far. And so all those things play into it. When you start 0-3 and you're not having a lot of success, it's easy to white flag it, and it's easy to say that, this isn't going well. And in today's day and age, there's always easier things for kids to do than play football. But I think the makeup of our team is one that so far, they've been willing to stay in there and fight and figure it out. And the road doesn't get any easier, but obviously that win Friday was big for morale and moving forward. I think that it makes our kids realize that the work they're putting in is worth something, and that's important. I think especially nowadays when kids want immediate feedback and immediate results. So we're blessed that we got the win, and we're blessed that we have the kids that we have with the attitudes that they have, and hopefully it gets better even moving forward.
What did you tell your team after you realized that they had won this game?
I don't like to say I'm proud of kids, but I did say that because I don't think that me being proud of anybody should mean anything to any kid. My opinion shouldn't mean a whole lot. They should be proud of themselves and proud of each other, but I was happy for them. And ultimately it's been a long time since we've beaten East Side, but I also reiterated that it was one win. It doesn't accomplish a whole lot, and we have more to do. And we have a really good Prairie Heights team coming in to Churubusco next week. And maybe the best team that Prairie Heights has had in a long time, and its homecoming, which I think outside of football, I think has a different meaning. As a football coach, I think it's a distraction sometimes, and so we want to keep our kids focused. We want them to be a part of homecoming and the festivities that are involved with that, but at the same time, we have to be focused on the football game. And so that was mentioned on the field Friday night, and again in the locker room when we got home, that winning this game was big. I'm happy for our kids. I'm happy for our coaches. I'm happy for our families. But we don't want that to be the highlight of our season.
Let's talk about that matchup with Prairie Heights. They're off to their best start since 2003 with a 3-1 start. I've already mentioned this now that Prairie Heights hasn't had a winning season since 1989. So it's been a long time for the Prairie Heights faithful to find some success. And obviously with the Panthers having that type of start, and you look at what they have on the field with Matt Armstrong quarterback, he had 4 TD passes, no interceptions against Central Noble. Jordan Klump set the single game record for receptions, I believe, at Prairie Heights, or receiving yards and touchdowns for the Panthers. So they got some athletes that are capable to compete in this division. This division is already opening up to be a very exciting race to the finish. When you look at this Prairie Heights team, Coach, what are some things that stand out to you about Pat McRae's Panthers?
Well, I think the first thing is that I noticed when I watched the film is how aggressively they play, and they always play hard. They're very aggressive, and they have a lot of team speed, and they're a very physical football team. In 2003, 2002, actually, I was on the Churubusco team that lost to Prairie Heights, and I remember that game very well. And I think they played AC/DC Money Talks when they kicked the game-winning field goal. So it was blasting over the speakers at Brushy Prairie. I remember that well. Coach McRae does a phenomenal job, and I'm friends with him, and we've been to clinics together, and his staff does a great job. They have a lot of momentum. They have a lot of kids on their roster and in their youth league. And in a day and age when it's hard for small schools to find numbers, they are doing it maybe as well or better than anybody. And then you add to the fact that they have extremely physical kids, extremely aggressive. You can tell they're excited to be playing football when you watch them on film. There's no question that there's going to be attitudes about, well, what have we done against Prairie Heights in the past, and how does that translate to this year? And the bottom line is, whatever we've done against Prairie Heights in the past just doesn't matter. This is a different looking Prairie Heights team. They have earned every win they've had, and done it in convincing fashion with physical football. Their offense has a lot of weapons. Their defense has a lot of team speed. So we don't match up very well against their team, to be honest with you. And so we're going to have to play really smart, and we're going to have to be patient in a lot of things and try and figure some things out early in the football game. And we're going to have to make some plays, because they, on paper, and a lot of things they do, they're going to give us major problems. And in many ways, they're probably the better football team on paper.
You mentioned the challenges of Prairie Heights for their physicality and their versatility with the offense and defense, so to speak. You mentioned homecoming being a potential challenge because of the social aspects that prevents you from being able to do what you need to do on the football field, right? So, what is one thing that your team's going to have to do well for your team to be in position to have a chance to win?
I think it's focusing on execution, and I know that sounds like coach speak, but I think that's important. There's a lot of people Saturday. We had youth football day at Busco, and a lot of excitement with our families and our fans and all that after winning and being 0-3 and finding a way to win. I think the distractions can take away from, what's the game plan, what are we going to do, that type of thing. But the bottom line is we are not a great football team, and we need to get better as a football team. And so focusing on execution of what we do, and that may mean better tackling, better blocking, better fakes, better paths, all those things. That we have to continue to do that. And we made strides Friday night, but it can be easy to sit back and say, well, we beat a team we haven't beaten in a long time. And so we must have figured everything out, and that's obviously not the case. I watch our film. Our coaches watch our film. We haven't figured a whole lot out yet. We were fortunate to get out at Butler with a win. So we need to continue to improve as a football team, and that really amounts to focusing on the execution of our responsibilities and doing that at a higher level than what we're doing right now.
Last question for me. This is kind of more of a sentimental level for you because you are a Busco person and whatnot. You went to school at Churubusco. You played at Busco. You coached at Churubusco. Just last year, they had the 40th anniversary of that team that went all the way to the state in '83. Just kind of talk about over the course of your 20 plus years investment with Churubusco football, how much has that community meant to you, and how much do you appreciate what the community has brought for you as a football person?
It means a lot. We have a great football community, and my dad actually was on the team that went to state, and so it was cool for my dad to be on the sideline during the anniversary last year. And obviously we did not play well against West Noble, but I think a lot of schools have this, especially small schools. It is a family atmosphere, and there's nothing quite like a Friday night in Churubusco in the fall. And the program is very important to me, and the direction of it's important to me, and the youth league is very important to me. And so I think all those things factor in. And when you have good people involved, and that's what we've tried to accomplish, is having good men and women that have the same vision of building the program up. And that's never going to change. I'm very fortunate that we have a really good football staff. We have a really good administration that are sports people, and they want our kids to be successful, not just on the Friday nights on the football field, but also in life afterwards in the classroom. And so we have a good team of administrators and coaches and teachers that are all bought into making kids the best that they can possibly be. And that in a small school, to have that kind of support and to have that kind of presence in the building and in the community, it means a lot. And I'm fortunate that I get to be a part of it still after playing there and coaching there, and now being the head coach for a few years. It's definitely been a blessing for me.
This is the longtime head coach of the Churubusco Eagles, Paul Sade. Coach, any final words before we let you go?
No, I appreciate the time, Sam, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. And I appreciate what you do, man.
All right. Coach, good luck on Friday as you take on the 3-1 Prairie Heights Panthers.
Thank you.
I'm here with the head football coach of the Heritage Patriots, Jeremy Hullinger. Coach, how are things going for you and for your Heritage Patriots?
Awesome. We had a big win over a very tough South Adams team, 38-22. Did a lot of good things, did a few things that we need to keep cleaning up and improving on. But that's the challenge, and we embrace the challenge in our program.
Yeah, your team's off to a 4-0 start in the season. You've done a lot of good things so far this year in your wins over the Heritage Patriots, the Belmont Braves, excuse me, and as well as with recently against South Adams and Woodland, among others. But you've also had to learn how to, adapt and whatnot. You've had some turnovers as well in those first 4 weeks, but you've also had some good accomplished contributions from guys like Eli Tago's quarterback, Brandon Walter at wide receiver, who just became the program leader for interceptions. And then this year, Martin had 2 big touchdowns against South Adams. So, coach, what is your overall assessment with your team so far through 4 weeks?
I'm very pleased. The boys have embraced the challenge, and they understand that there are no easy nights, especially in the ACAC. There's so many quality opponents. You hit the nail right on the head, though. We have to limit turnovers. We went through our first 2 games and did not have any turnovers, and then these last 2, we've had 2 in each of those last 2 games, and that can cost you. Right now, we've been good enough that it hasn't. But that's something that we're always preaching: ball security, ball security, ball security. So that's something I'd like to see us turn up. You talked about Eli, and he's doing a fantastic job leading our team. He is a leader on and off the field, and we're very proud of the way he's playing. Nasir and Braden and Zeke Litchfield, who you didn't mention, that is a heck of a 1-2-3 punch right now. Braden and Zeke have a real friendly competition. Zeke led the team in receiving last game against Woodland. Braden showed out and led the team in receiving this game against South Adams. So they have a nice, healthy, friendly competition. They're buddies off the floor, and they play volleyball together. And that dangerous combination just opens up all kinds of holes for Nasir. And Nasir's a fun player to watch. He just fights for every yard. He's not the biggest guy on the field, but he does not let that stop him.
Mhm. And you mentioned about the volleyball team with Zeke Litchfield because of that athleticism he does with his height and whatnot. And you got some athletes as well that can do a variety of different things. Coach, we've talked about this in the past, but you talk about what's so unique about this Heritage Patriots team that lost quite a bit from the previous season, but you also got a nice group this year. You got a nice future, so to speak, with this program. What are some of the things that you can describe about this 2024 Heritage Patriots football team, besides the fact they're just very talented?
I, you're right. They are just absolutely leaps and bounds talented over some of the teams we've had in the past. A lot of that is the product of what they do in the weight room. The kids work extremely hard in the weight room, and I have to give a shout out to our strength and conditioning coach in the building, Grant Linehan, who works for Parkview. We have a relationship, as does all of East Allen County Schools, that we have a Parkview trainer working with our athletes while they're in their strength class, and he's done a phenomenal job, along with Nico Tagulis, who is our weight room teacher. We have a weights class in school, so the boys get to get all their lifting done during school, which is such a huge help. You don't have to devote all that time in practice towards that. Really, those two gentlemen have done such a good job. We started to see the gains in the weight room with Kobe Meyer and Preston Fields and that great senior class we had last year. But these boys have just taken it to another level. They really embrace the weight room, and they've embraced the challenge. They were tired of being in the shadow of a lot of those guys that were 3-year starters. Not that there was any ill will, but they were ready for their opportunity. Eli was playing wide receiver, and as good a wide receiver as he was, he's been waiting for his opportunity to play quarterback. And Braden's been a stalwart for us, but there's a lot of kids like Mason Abbott, who is a awesome middle linebacker, and he was stuck. He couldn't crack the lineup behind guys like Rylan Whitaker, who we had 2 years ago, and his brother Caleb Abbott. His brother is already getting on the field as a true freshman over at Manchester. So it was tough. And now Mason is really getting to show what he can do now the big brother has graduated. So I'm just so proud of those guys. They never once, as sophomores and juniors who weren't playing, they never once hung their head. They never once complained about not being able to play the spot they wanted to play. They just worked. And that, at the end of the day, that's what heritage football is about. It's about putting your head down and working.
That is for sure. Coach, you mentioned Kobe Meyer, who was the quarterback last year, and he had a tremendous in throwing the football. You got Eli Tagulis, the son of Coach Tagulis that you mentioned about with the weight room reference. Eli Tagulis is having a great season of his own. He's throwing for about 70% completion, a QBR that's probably only comes behind Grayson Bradbury of Columbia City here in the ANEC coverage and whatnot. Coach, when you assess where Eli Tagulis is at quarterback, I know it helps that you have a great offensive line led by some guys by the name of like Charlie Riddle, for instance, being one of them. Coach, what are some things you see from Eli Tagulis that's made it an interesting dynamic?
Yeah, you talk about Eli's completion percentage. I have to go back and watch the film and just check. It's like 75%. That's unbelievable, but he does such a good job. He thinks of himself like a point guard out there, and he wants to make sure all of his best guys touch the ball early. He'll take what the defense gives you. He's a different kind of quarterback than Kobe. Kobe was just such an amazing athlete and a gamer. That was what we talked about with Kobe. Kobe was just the guy who said, give me the ball and get out of my way. I'll figure out a way to make it work. And Eli's got that competitive fire in him, but he does it in a different way. He'll just pick you apart. He'll take what the defense gives you. He never gets rattled. He never gets down on himself. He never looks to force anything. And that's a rare quality in such a young kid, especially one who's only got 4 games of starting at quarterback under his belt. So it's great to see that level of leadership, that level of maturity in someone who's so young. And he's just soaking up every bit of this opportunity that's in front of him.
That is for sure, and that's very important to have that type of chemistry and confidence because of what you're going to be facing coming up against the Adams Central Flying Jets. And there's no secret here with Adams Central. They have dominated the ACAC for the last 3 years. They went to the state finals the past 3 years, and obviously it is a different team from those 3 years, but it's still a really good football team. And they've kind of reloaded of their own, and they got a quarterback that by the name of Jamison Roach that can throw the football. They got a plethora of running backs that can do a variety of different things. You got Ken Fravel on defense. That's going to be a challenge for you to be able to move the chains and move the football, whatnot. You have not been Adams Central on the football field since the 2014 season. It's been exactly 10 years since you last beat the Jets. Coach, what are some other thoughts you have about Adams Central as you prepare for a very difficult matchup against a team that's only lost 1 game, and it was against Garrett's?
Well, yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. That is a program that they do not rebuild; they just simply reload, and it's been that way for the past 3 or 4 decades. It seems like they're doing some things very, very right over there in Adams Central, and the first word that comes to mind is respect. You have to respect the success that they have there. Uh, they run a wing T system. It's a beautiful brand of football to watch. You never know where the ball is going to be. There's a lot of different running backs that contribute. It's a team oriented game, and now they've added the additional threat, like you mentioned, with Roach at quarterback. That kid can really he can really sling it, but he can run the ball as well. He's a strong, fast kid, good competitor. So when we think about it, we have just the utmost respect for Adams Central. I think about all those games in the early 2000s when Bob Yeager was the coach and Rick Minnick was the coach. A lot of years it came down to Heritage and Adams Central for the conference, and you know, it's been a really good situation at Adams Central, and it's always a big deal when you get to play them, and we're just happy for the opportunity.
Mhm. You mentioned about the turnovers being an area of concern for your team, but when you look at the matchup at Adams Central, you mentioned how difficult it is to plan the wing T because of that deception that they have of the wing T, that you never know who's gonna have the ball and where it's gonna go. For your team to have success of any kind against Adams Central, what are some other details that you're gonna have to continue to work on?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. You said the word details. We have to dive into the details of hanging on to the football, the details of knowing your assignment inside and out. Because if you don't know your assignment, if you don't do your job, the wing T can hurt you like no other offense. It puts the ball where you are not. If you do not hunker down and make sure you're in your gap, the wing T, like I said, can punish you like no other offense. So we have to make sure we're disciplined. We have to make sure we are focused in on the details. Same thing on offense. When we have the ball, we have to limit mistakes, and we have to put good long drives together, because AC is just not going to give you the opportunity for big plays. AC is a team that they have been built, like I said, on 30, 40 years of success, and they've been based on a simple principle of not beating themselves. And it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're not going to shy away from. It's a challenge that our boys are looking to embrace. We embrace hard work, we embrace challenge, we don't shy away from it, and we're looking forward to a really fun, hard hitting football game.
Mhm. Last question for me, Coach. This is your first year as the head coach of Heritage, but you have been a familiar face on that program for quite some time now. What has been your early impressions with your new role with the football team after spending many years as assistant?
Well, I'm living the dream for sure. I've been a Heritage guy through and through. Graduated from Heritage, immediately returned and started coaching football and baseball. At one point in time, I was coaching year round. I was doing football, baseball, and basketball. but it's always been my dream to be the head football coach at Heritage. I feel like there's something special about the community and the people and the staff. So I would say that I'm living the dream. And in return, I cannot thank the community enough for the outreach and the support that I've had from members of the community, local businesses, obviously the staff, and the boys have embraced me. They wanted a familiar face and they got it. And I'm putting my own little spin on it. We're doing things the right way, the Patriot way, but also at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's their team. The I never make any tackles. I never make any blocks. I never make any interceptions. As much as I keep checking, hey, do I have at least one game eligibility left? I don't get out there and go do it. So it's about the boys, and I want to heap the praise on them as much as possible. It's their team, and I'm just enjoying watching them play and the amount of support that I get from the community and the staff and the people in Heritage World. It's just overwhelming.
Sorry, I think we were having some technical difficulties on Jeremy's end, but that is the head football coach of the Heritage Patriots, Jeremy Hullinger. Coach, thank you for taking the time talking about the team, and good luck the way.
Yep. Hopefully you're hearing me. Thank you very much, Sam. I'm happy to do it anytime. I appreciate what you do, bringing attention to this corner of high school football.
Yep. Well, that is going to do it for episode 8 of the ANEC Sports Podcast. We'd like to thank head football coaches Paul Sade of Churubusco and Jeremy Hullinger of Heritage for taking their time to discuss their football teams and the upcoming matchups in their respective schedules, as Busco set to take on Prairie Heights in their homecoming. Heritage is hosting Adams Central. Those are 2 of our 3 games of the week coming up at around the Northeast corner. And we are crazy enough as we say. I mean, we are halfway through most of the fall sports. Girls golf is going to start the postseason a week from now, less than a week from now, I should say. So things are starting to wrap up here the fall sports season, and we're about a month away from the first official practice for girls basketball. And don't worry, girls basketball is going to get some love here too at around the Northeast corners. It's probably the main sport at ANEC Sports besides football, and so we're excited to get things rolling onto the basketball scene, so to speak. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Tune in next week for another slate of guests coming up as we shift over to the conclusion of the NECC tournaments for soccer. We shift over past sectionals for girls golf, and then we are going to be officially at the halfway mark of the football season, to which we are well past the halfway mark for girls volleyball as we speak. So my name is Sam Frick. Thank you, and have a great rest of your evening.